Who is the fastest killer in Dead by Daylight? Let's figure this out today. To do this, I didn't want to simply list out a bunch of numbers though, but instead test it more practically and closer to real gameplay. To measure each killer's highest speed, they were tasked with moving from one end of Ormond to the other as fast as possible. The killer could only use their power and their add-ons to do this, aiming for the quickest time possible. Each killer also had access to all 4 survivors if they needed it, and were also allowed a setup phase before they started their run. With all that in mind, let's get into it. Starting out, we have the slowest killer, able to only move at the slowest base killer movement in the game, 4.4 meters per second. This was Deathslinger. Deathslinger unfortunately only has speed add-ons that affect his ADS speed and reeling speed, both of which are not useful for gaining extra distance beyond his base of 4.4. Therefore he marks the slowest time of 17.5 seconds. This is actually where we leave off for this movement speed, interestingly too. Everyone else is faster than this in some way. The next tier up is the other standard killer movement speed of 4.6. This includes a decent number of killers too. Doctor, Pyramid Head, Nemesis, Artist, Plague, and Knight. They're all included here. Some of them do have speed or haste based add-ons, but none of which allow them to traverse this distance faster. For example, Plague's only haste or speed related add-on is the Worship Tablet, however this only increases her movement speed by 4.5% whilst holding down her vomit. This is the same type of thing for all of these killers. Some of them do have speed add-ons, but not the kind that gain them additional physical distance. The time for the 4.6 killers was 17 seconds, so only a 0.5 second increase. Interestingly too, despite Huntress being a 4.4 at base, she's able to move at 4.6 if she runs her iridescent add-on Soldier's Putty, which lets her move at 4.6 once she's used all of her hatchets. So she matches this speed too and also gets a time of 17 seconds as well. But what about some of the characters with different movement types? Bubba gets a small boost to movement speed when using his chainsaw, at 5.35 meters per second. He further has a base of 3 tokens, but he can extend them to 4 with Depth Gauge Rake. Although with a small move speed reduction, this is still overall beneficial, as you get 4 charges instead of 3, allowing you to move a much greater distance with the increased movement speed, especially when you also pair it with the Beast's Marks, which cancels Rake's negatives out. Overall this makes his time 17.3 seconds though, so he's actually slower than the base movement speed, even with this speed bonus, and it's down to his cooldown or sort of stun time after using the chainsaw. It slows him down just too much, and his movement with the chainsaw isn't quite fast enough to make up the distance. So his fastest is technically just regular walking speed. Pig has access to a faster movement speed in her ambush attack, moving at 6.9 meters per second, made marginally faster with Last Will, which gives an extra 5%, with Shattered Syringe also marginally reducing the recovery time post-ambush. This allows for a tiny increase to her overall time of 17.1 seconds. Again, like Bubba, she doesn't get a bonus to overall distance due to the cooldown time of the power, or the stun after using the ability. This means her fastest is also just the base walk speed of 4.6 and 17 seconds. These movement abilities don't help. Twins is a debatable one, as of course there are 2 of them, Charlotte and Victor. Unlike most other killers though, in this case the power is a guy, it's a person. Victor is their power. So does it count as the character moving if Victor is only moving? If so, Victor can pair together Forest Stew and Madeline's Scarf for an additional 0.9 meters per second added to his move speed, letting him fly to the end in 9.5 seconds. Or he could set up beforehand and be switched to, which is even easier. However, this is just the power in this case moving, leaving the actual character Charlotte at the start of the run still. By this metric, they can actually only move at 4.6 meters per second, due to this being the base speed, and so 17 seconds as well. This is a clear precedent I wanted to set for this run, is that all the killers actually have to physically move themselves to the end of the run. It can't be their power. For example, Knight can't draw a trail. Xenomorph has an innate movement ability with its tunnels, in which it moves incredibly quickly through at 18 meters per second. Whilst the crawling speed within the tunnels can't be improved, you can improve the exit speed very slightly when coming out of them with Parker's headband, giving you a 5% bonus for 3 seconds after exiting a tunnel. Due to the placement, however, this wasn't of any benefit, meaning Xeno got the standard walk speed as well of 4.6 meters per second or 17 seconds. We now move into the more interesting territory and the various movement speeds attainable through the killer's powers and add-ons. First up with a very small bonus and our first person to break the 4.6 barrier or 17 seconds, Trapper. Trapper with his add-on Coffee Grounds gets a 5% bonus to movement speed for 5 seconds after setting a trap. This brings his post-set trap speed to 12.5% overall, and a time of 16.5 seconds, ever so slightly faster than the base movement speed, and largely due to the speed only lasting 5 seconds. This means generally speaking that you're gaining very little distance in that time, but Trapper doesn't have any sort of cooldown from doing this like some of the other bonus movements, which means overall he just simply benefits. I think this mechanic is mainly meant to speed you up in place of the trap placement slowing you down. Ghostface has the add-on Drop Leg Knife Sheath, which increases his movement speed by 10% for 5 seconds after marking a survivor. This gives him a small boost at the start of the run, allowing him to reach the other end in 16.5 seconds too, drawing with Trapper a small 0.5 second extension to his base speed of 4.6. Pretty good considering. Skull Merchant is able to get a very brief increase to her movement speed if she uses a base kit ability to gain a small duration of 5% haste after detecting someone with her drone. She can do this multiple times during the run however, as accessing her scanner does not slow her down. She still moves at 4.6 even when holding her scanner up. This gives her a small bonus to her run and lands her with a time of 16.3 seconds due to the retained bonus movement speed. Myers can utilize his new Slaughtering Strike attack to move at an increased 6.9 meters per second. With the add-on Mirror Shard, you can increase Slaughtering Strike's duration from 1.5 seconds to 1.75, so for slightly more distance and time in this higher speed. You can also run Glass Fragment for a 5% increase to movement speed during the strike. Both of these come at the cost of an increased initial charge time. However, this is fine as we can charge the ability from the starting wall. This gives Myers an overall time of 16.2 seconds. Actually surprisingly good. Trickster has the very interesting Iridescent Photocard add-on, which requires him to consistently land blades without missing to build up haste. For each blade landed up to 7, he gains a stackable 1% bonus haste up to a max of 7%. This allows him to move slightly faster than his base of 4.6, and brings his overall time to 15.8 seconds. Vecna has his base kit Fly ability, which lets him move at an increased speed for the first part of the run, moving at 9 meters per second, before returning to his base movement. He does also have the add-on Boots of Speed though, which provide a 3% haste bonus for 2 seconds after using Mage Hand, so he can also use this ability during his walking section of the run, making a tiny difference. This brings his time to 15.2 seconds. We're slowly getting there, we're slowly edging on up. Springtrap does have a teleport, however due to these largely being a bit out of the way of the run, it's actually faster to use the Celebrate poster. This add-on is incredibly interesting, providing a constant 12% boost to movement speed, so long as you're within 32 meters of a survivor embedded with your axe. Therefore, if you get a survivor to run alongside you for the length of the run, this lets you get across 12% faster than you would have with your base of 4.6, so he gets a total time of 15.2 seconds, matching Vecna. Clown gets a boost to movement speed when using his antidote bottles, which invigorate him, with a 14% boost to movement speed. He can set these up and run through them easily. This is already pretty strong, but can be buffed further with the cheap gin bottle, which boosts this up by an additional 3%, and the sticky soda bottle, which then further improves it by 2%, bringing it to an overall 19% boost to his movement speed of 4.6. This lets him traverse the run in 15 seconds. Very respectable, and a result of his persistent movement speed boost and lack of any cooldowns. Wesker has a boost to his movement speed with use of his power, Virulent Bound. This ability lets him move at a peak speed of 14 meters per second, but you only get 2 of these bounds. This lets him get across a portion of the run, but he then needs to utilize Loose Crank to allow for a slightly faster walk speed between the bounds. This might not even buy you time, it's so minimal, but maybe something. This brings him to a final time of 15.4 seconds, so it wasn't quite beaten. I found a slightly faster method though. You can marginally speed up his power recovery time as well with the add-on Leather Gloves, giving an 8% faster recovery speed. Then you can also run Unicorn Medallion, an add-on which equalizes your bounds to be the same distance rather than a short one than a long one. This means for his final bound to get to the finish line, he gets 20% extra distance, bringing his final time down by a second to 14.4 seconds. Chucky has a base dash ability which lets him move at 8 meters per second. This can only be used to get part of the way though, leaving him to then move across the rest of the run at his base speed of 4.4, which is very slow, due to his tiny legs. So for Chucky, the goal is to maximize his potential with his dash ability. Therefore, I use the add-ons Jump Rope, which provides a base extension to his Slice and Dice or dash ability. Then he also has the very interesting add-on Portable TV. This add-on greatly extends Slice and Dice, but only once the exit have been powered, or all the gens are done basically. Once these conditions are met, it's actually insane how far Chucky ends up going. He's only hindered and greatly drawn back by his base speed being 4.4 meters per second, the poor guy. Houndmaster is able to gain an increase to her base movement speed by walking on her dog's trail, or Snug's search path, up to 6 meters per second. We can also then add the add-on Sticky Pitch, which gives her an additional 2% speed whilst walking on this path. This gives her an overall time of 14 seconds. Very good. Legion is already pretty speedy at base, with them going up to 5.2 meters per second in Feral Frenzy. They can then increase this number though for each survivor they manage to hit, gaining up to 6.16 meters per second after hitting all 4. Mural Sketch can be run too, which adds an additional 0.08 meters per second for each hit landed, for a total of 6.38. I then ran Mischief List as well for a 1 second duration bonus to their power, just to make sure I could reach the end of the run comfortably. This gives them a time of 12.4 seconds. Very good. Dracula does have a teleport ability whilst in bat form, however he's not able to make use of it during the run due to the lack of vault locations. This likely doesn't make too much difference though, as he has access to bat form for the entire duration if he wants, a form in which he moves at 6.5 meters per second, overall a speed of 12.3 seconds. Nurse has the ability to blink, which allows her to cover a long distance in one go. However, her blinks don't allow her to move across the entire run, as she only has 2. The best option you have therefore is Campbell's Last Breath, an interesting add-on which allows you to actually move the distance of 2 fully charged blinks consecutively, something you can't do without this one. This can then be paired with Ataxic Respiration for a slight reduction to blink cooldown, meaning she can recover a blink a little faster. This ends up as almost the exact same time, however, being slightly slower overall. Krasue has a movement ability in her Headlong Flight. This ability can be used when she's in her head form, and allows her to move at an increased 7 meters per second. She can dash for the entire length of the run too, providing her with a persistent 7 meters per second movement speed, and a solid time of 12 seconds, matching Nurse, which is insane by the way. Wraith moves faster at base whilst he's cloaked, but he can buff his cloak speed even more with his Windstorm add-ons. With a pairing of Windstorm Blood and Windstorm White, he gets an additional 16% speed on top of his 6 meters per second cloaked movement, allowing him to fly across the run in 11.7 seconds. A very fast but also very consistent time with his persistent boost in speed. Spirit has a clear boost to her movement speed with her phase ability. This allows her to go invisible, but also move at a faster speed of 7.04 meters per second. This can be further increased though with her iridescent add-on Mother-Daughter Ring, which boosts this by 25%. This paired up with the Muddy Sports Day cap results in a total bonus of 35%. However, based on my tests, this was the inferior strategy, over pairing up Mother-Daughter Ring with her power extension add-on Yakayoke Amulet. Whilst this add-on does give a reduction addition to movement speed, it is overall an improvement to her time without it, her best time being 11.2 seconds, a very fast time. Dredge is able to teleport and can also speed up its teleport with the boat key, but this only speeds it up outside of Nightfall, where Nightfall is much faster anyway, so it's not useful really. Dredge's Nightfall teleport speed is insanely fast, going at 40 meters per second, which I believe is the fastest technical movement in the game. This lets Dredge get a huge leg up, only needing to walk, or float, I guess, the final section at its base of 4.6 for a total of 10 seconds. Kaneki has access to his Kagane leaps, which allow him to traverse the environment far faster. He can boost his available leaps from 2 to 3 by becoming enraged. We can make these leaps even faster though with his add-on Fresh Coffee, which boosts their speed by 15%. With Kaneki's satchel you further get a 30% increase of speed to your third consecutive leap. Due to needing to stick to the environment on the way though, Kaneki does struggle a little more than the more linear movement speed characters. Still a very good time of 8.8 seconds. Blight is of course a very speedy boy, moving at a base of 9.2 meters per second during his dash. This can be sped up further though with Adrenaline Vial and Blighted Crow. Adrenaline Vial applies a base buff of 5% and also provides an additional 2 rush tokens, which is important for the next add-on. Crow boosts movement by 3% for each rush used, which means these extra tokens give an extra 6% as well. Therefore I used up as many as I could before leaving the starting wall and managed to get across in 8.7 seconds, just faster than Kaneki. Oni is clearly fastest during his Blood Fury when he's dashing. He's already fast in this mode, moving at 7.82 meters per second, but can be even faster with the add-ons Akito's Crutch and Kanai Anzen Talisman, for an overall 21% increase to your dash speed. This allows him to really fly across the run, ending with 8.1 seconds. Billy is naturally a fast movement speed killer, with his chainsaw allowing him to go at 10.12 meters per second. This goes even higher though, up to 12 meters per second once overdrive is active. He can further then run iridescent engravings to get another 20% boost to movement speed. I also whacked on clogged intake for a slightly longer overdrive duration. This provides him with an insane time of 5 seconds. This is incredibly fast, with him stacking so many different types of movement speeds onto one another, almost halving the previous time. Pinhead of course has the ability to teleport to the box when a survivor solves it, so I lined up a survivor close to the end of the run and did my best to get a good position. The best I could get was relatively near and gave a time of 4.8 seconds. Sadako is able to charge up her teleport and manages to reach the other end of the run very quickly due to a close by TV. She further gets a slight boost of movement speed after exiting the TV with her add-on Bloody Fingernails, which extends her post-teleport movement speed boost by 50%. This brings her time to 4.6 seconds. Despite having a teleport, due to having more of a transitional animation, her time is a bit higher than some other teleporters. Freddy gets a decently large bonus to his run down to his ability to teleport to generators, one of which he got fairly close to the end, and so this knocked his time down pretty considerably, to just 4 seconds. A very good time and entirely down to his teleport because he has nothing else speed related. Demogorgon is able to use its portal in the setup phase, placing one at the end of the run. You can then run the add-ons Deer Lung and Rotten Green Tripe. This allows Demogorgon's movement speed when traversing the Upside Down to increase by 45%. This makes it incredibly quick and comes down to a total of 3.1 seconds. Singularity has a teleport ability, however he does need to set it up beforehand. Therefore, during the setup period we can go plant a biopod close by to the end of the run, slipstream them, and then teleport to them, leaving Hux with a very short overall time and speed of 1.8 seconds. Hag is another killer with a flexible teleport, enabling her to set a trap and teleport instantly to a position. She has even more freedom with the iridescent add-on Mint Rag, which allows her to even choose when to teleport. Therefore, in the setup phase, she can go and plant a trap at the end of the run and simply teleport to it, providing a time of 0.8 seconds. she does still have a time because there's a slight animation to it, and you can only put a trap so close to the endpoint, so therefore 0.8 seconds. However, someone is a little faster. Unknown is able to teleport, and it can also plant its teleports wherever it likes. If you stand in the spot you want and wait for the power to charge, it will drop your clone down wherever you're standing. This means Unknown can move across the run distance instantly. Its teleport results in a time of 0.3 seconds due to having very little of an animation, which performs quickly. Alright, well, there you have it. Let me know your thoughts as always down below. Thanks, and goodbye.